What's that I hear? Yep, thought so. The sound of a screeching U-turn from a politician who has insisted he won't allow party politics to impact his economic ideology until he's been thrashed in the polls. Fishy Rishi Sunak's pledge to cut VAT on energy bills might be the right policy, even though it's only limited to 1 year. But how does this £4 billion giveaway to try and win over grassroots Tories stack up with everything he's been telling us during this leadership campaign? That tax cuts would be immoral and inflationary and a fairy tale.
We need a return to traditional Conservative economic values. And that means honesty and responsibility, not fairy tales.
And I do believe that it is the wrong approach for the government at this moment to be borrowing an extra tens and tens and tens of billions of pounds. I've been very clear that not only do I think it's the wrong thing for the economy, I do also believe that it is immoral, because there is nothing noble or good about racking up bills on the country's credit card. Should we pay that bill ourselves, or do we put it on the country's credit card and pass the tab to our children and grandchildren to take care of? Now, I don't think that's right. I don't think it's responsible, and it's certainly not Conservative, and that's what I wouldn't do as Prime Minister.
What's more is that Number 10 insiders told the Daily Mail that Boris Johnson had tried to implement the policy to ease the burden on voters, but he was blocked by Sunak. A source told the newspaper Boris begged him to do it, but he wouldn't budge. It's astonishing that he's now claiming it as his own policy. Meanwhile, Sunak also pledged to tighten the rules on out-of-work benefits, with claimants needing to work 18 hours a week before they're able to cancel appointments at the job centre. Only issue is that the Work and Pension Secretary, Therese Coffey, who was also the Trust campaign chair, told allies that Sunak blocked her similar plan when he was Chancellor. That's according to Politico. Even The Spectator, where Sunak has many allies, is now turning against him. Financial columnist Matthew Lynn wrote today, Sunak's announcement is a sign of desperation. The Conservative Party's members have already chosen their next Prime Minister. Liz Truss is not way ahead in the polls because she is a fantastic speaker. She isn't, or because she connects with ordinary people. She doesn't. It is because she has correctly identified that putting taxes up to the highest level in 70 years was a terrible mistake. Boxed in by his record as Chancellor and as the person who put up those taxes, Sunak has been left hopelessly exposed. But VAT on energy? Really? In truth, this is a typical Rishi, a small and fiddly tax cut that won't make a huge amount of difference to anyone and which will be swallowed up by the rise in electricity bills anyway. It is a technocratic Treasury solution, the sort of move Gordon Brown might have come up with on a bad day. And then there was this from The Spectator's economics editor, Kate Andrews, who wrote, where Sunak is most vulnerable is in his claim that tax cuts are inherently inflationary, an accusation he's made of Truss's economic agenda many times. He's going to find himself getting into the weeds explaining why he thinks Truss's tax cuts are inflationary while his are benign. And the most likely outcome will be voters thinking the claim was exaggerated, that while there may be major risks associated with unfunded tax cuts, an inflationary spike isn't one of them. Perhaps this viral video from the Guido Fawkes website sums up Sunak's changing position on tax most perfectly.
I have to go back. I thank the Chancellor. You mentioned the election campaign. In that campaign, the opposition suggested that they would raise the rate of corporation tax in this country, a move that would damage jobs and growth. Could he confirm for the House now, is that still my policy, or will you start backing British businesses?
What would that idealistic young backbencher now make of the fact he's attacking Truss for rightly refusing to hike corporation tax? Well, tonight his leadership rival took advantage of his tax dilemma without resorting to unnecessary jibes.
Well, I welcome the fact that he is now saying that we should cut taxes, because that's what we need to do. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see him commit to going and reversing the national insurance rise, because that national insurance rise has hit families in the pocket. I've been meeting families here in Romford. They want to see lower taxes for businesses, lower taxes for people, so that we can get our economy going grow our economy and create the opportunities for the future.
Wherever he goes from here, I'm afraid Fishy Rishi's tax U-turn is transparent and too little too late.